Gotta Run. This is Will Sanchez. My very special guest tonight is Ruth Gursky. I met Ruth years ago at a running clinic. She was a force of nature then, she's a force of nature now. Her philosophy is very simple. If I can do it, you can do it. But her accomplishments and her honors are not typical. Wait till you hear her story. So please welcome Ruth Gursky to the show.
Hi, thank you, Will.
Thank you, Ruth, for dropping by. Ruth, let's get started by sharing with the audience a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? A little bit about your schooling and your family.
Born in Jamaica, Queens, educated through the public school system, Queens College, bachelor's and master's degrees, and I got a JD Juris Doctor at Cardozo School of Law.
Excellent. As a youngster, were you involved in any athletics?
I was what you would call a tomboy, and I enjoyed sports and running and biking, and I actually taught some of the neighborhood boys how to play softball, loved roller skating, four wheels, all the usual things that little boys do and some little girls did then, like myself.
This is in Jamaica, Queens.
Jamaica, Queens.
Great.
And pre-Title IX. I probably would have been an athlete if there was Title IX when I was a kid.
Oh, so when you went to college, there was no Title IX at that time?
I don't think so. And by then, I was more moved into the intellectual realm, shall we say. So I was more into my studying and excelling in school and getting good grades and making my parents happy.
Oh, cool. Did you have any siblings?
I have 4 other siblings, number 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Are they all athletically inclined as you were?
My younger brother was a swimmer in high school, quite good and accomplished, and I am very proud of him. Great.
I'm sure they're proud of you, too. And your parents must be so proud. You said you went to law school, so you're a lawyer.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Before law school in college, what was your major?
Well, that was one of those things. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, and certainly I didn't know then. I didn't declare a major till I was a senior, and I had taken all the drama classes and communications classes. I wanted to be a movie star or a TV star or something like that. And then when my mother said I have to get serious, I majored in communications and then went for a master's in speech and language therapy.
Excellent. I didn't know about this about you. In college, did you keep up your athletic endeavors?
Well, I played tennis and took some dance class. As part of the drama degree, you take some dance classes. But it's still, that was still my pursuing the intellectual, doing my coursework and all of that just kept me much more busy.
Okay. After you got your law degree from Yeshiva University?
Cardozo School of Law, part of Yeshiva, yes.
Cardozo, great school.
Yes.
What did you do? Did you open up your own practice?
I went into work for other people. I had 2 small firm jobs and then worked for the New York City Transit Authority for 3 years in their torts division, trying my best to defend the New York City Transit Authority.
That must have been a tough job.
It was. It required my acting skills, as a matter of fact, to be a trial attorney and to win over a jury and to advocate on behalf of a very difficult client.
Yes, yes. Oh, cool. So you got in front of a jury and
absolutely.
Just like on TV.
Just like on TV.
Oh, cool.
Except there was no sleeping with judges and other attorneys. I don't know where that came from on the TV shows. None of that in my experience.
Oh, my goodness.
What can
I
tell
haven't watched law stuff in a long time, but interesting. Interesting. You started running as more of a full-time endeavor in terms of athletic. How did that come about?
Well, that came about actually through making lemonade out of lemons. I had injured myself. I actually fell down some subway steps many years after I had left the Transit Authority and went into my own practice. And I did some swimming and cycling as part of physical therapy. And my doctor diagnosed that I would have a 20% limitation in the knee that I had injured. I had had 2 surgeries in that knee as a result. Mm-hmm. What does 80% use of one leg mean, and what does 100% use of the non-injured leg mean? And so I happened to see, as chance would have it, an ad in the newspaper for a one-on-one fitness gym where you saw a personal trainer and worked out with him or her. And I went there and inquired, and I think I worked out in a personal fitness gym for about 2 years.
Wow.
Started to feel very comfortable with my own body and feeling stronger and being able to do more. I was cycling and swimming at the time, and I saw an ad for a duathlon, run, bike, run, in Flushing Meadow Park. And I lived in Forest Hills, Queens at the time. And so I entered it. And at that point, I was only walking. I wasn't running. So I just ran around the block a few times and said, well, my knee didn't fall off, so let's enter the race.
Excellent.
Crazy, a leap of faith, shall we say. And I was the last person finished. As I was turning the bend, going towards the finish line, somebody came up to me on a bicycle and said, come on, we're holding the finish line for you. You're coming in third place, and you're winning a medal. I'd never seen this before. I never heard of such a thing, truly. And I won a medal for third place. It turns out I was the third woman in the race. So you have to be in it to win it, as they say in the ads.
So that was your first taste of bling?
That was my first taste of bling and my first taste of kind of enjoying this competitive sport. Although, again, I was back of the pack, so I really wasn't all that competitive. And I joined the Roadrunners, and I started taking classes to learn how to run and to learn what kind of sneakers I need and all of that through Frontrunners. Frontrunners, one of the clubs under the New York Roadrunners umbrella. They had classes held classes at that time at Roadrunners Club.
Another excellent. We highlight the different running clubs like Galloway, Frontrunners, Dashing Whippers, Urban Athletics.
Excellent.
Frontrunners is an excellent organization.
Thank you. I took class through Frontrunners at the Roadrunners Club, and we'd run around Central Park and run up and down Cat Hill and the Delacorte Oval and all those usual things, and I slowly learned how to run. And there was always that marathon in the distance. And many of my friends were running marathons, and I could barely run. I mean, I was winded at a 10K, and that was the furthest distance I had ever gone.
10K is approximately
6.2 miles. So one year they offered what they called at that time the Trevera Twosome Race. It was a couples race where you and your partner, a male partner, man and woman partner, would run 10 miles, and your combined finish time would say whether or not you would win a medal or whatever.
What was the name of that race?
It was called the Trevera Twosome, named for the carpeting, the Trevera carpeting that was a sponsor of Roadrunners.
Interesting.
And I think this was back in the early to mid-90s.
Okay.
I ran this race. My partner was well up ahead, where all the real runners run, and I was way back where the Gursky runners run. And with me was Fred LeBeau. At that year, he was training for his marathon.
Fascinating.
And so the two of us were basically running together. Sometimes he would run ahead of me, and I would catch up. I would run ahead of him. He would catch up. And at mile 7, a friend of mine happened to be the volunteer at that water station. And I jumped up and down and was screaming, and I was so happy. And he said, "What's the commotion?" And I said, "I've never run beyond 6.2 miles. And he said, "Every step is a PR."
Excellent.
And after about mile 8, I was getting winded. He went ahead of me.
Fred did.
Fred went ahead of me. And when I got to the finish line, he was waiting for me with a big hug and a kiss. And that was my introduction to long-distance running.
We should tell our audience Fred LeBeau is the founder of the New York Roadrunners.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the marathon itself. It was his vision to create a marathon within the 5 boroughs. My partner didn't know what it was, and he was shocked. His jaw was on the ground that Fred was waiting for me to give me a big hug and a kiss. And I was like one of the, as you know, the backpackers.
The thing about running, you meet so many terrific runners, and they're also supportive. It doesn't matter whether you're the front, in the middle, or the back. We all have to cross the same roads.
That has basically been my experience.
Well, tell us some more stories. Have always, obviously, that encouraged you to continue.
That encouraged me to continue. One story, which has a happy ending for me, but does show that some runners are a little not as supportive of back of the packers. I ran my first triathlon, and the triathlon is swim, bike, run. And it was what you call a sprint triathlon, sponsored by Danskin, so it was for women only. That was a supportive atmosphere. And I had been swimming, and I had been cycling, and I had been now running for a couple of years. So I said, hey, what the heck? Another leap of faith. Let's do this Danskin triathlon. And so I was the last swimmer coming in. And the gal who was kind of like the sports director for this race at the time, Sally Edwards, an excellent athlete in her own right, said that she was going to be the last person to cross the finish line, and she would support whoever was at the back of the pack. So she was swimming with me, and I was literally going from volunteer to volunteer. They had some kind of a buoy or something like that that I could kind of hold on to, because I was totally freaked out, you know, swimming in this open water lake and the seaweed and all of that stuff.
Quite different from a swimming pool, yes.
Quite different. There were no lanes. There was no end of the lane that you could hold on to.
But there were angels there. I think they call them swim angels to help you.
That's what I held on to, and I went from angel to angel with Sally by my side going, come on, you could do it, you could do it.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Then we got on the bike, and I, you know, got on my bike, changed into my cycling shoes, and continued on the bike, and finally, going, and I'm like the little engine who could, there was a cyclist up ahead. I was no longer the last one. I saw somebody ahead of me, and I said, Sally, see ya. And I took off, and I beat that cyclist, so I knew I wasn't going to be last. I was going to be next to last. And sure enough, the little competitive blood in me came up, and I came, again, back of the pack, but I did beat a few others out of the cycling, and then changed into sneakers and went off to run the, I don't know if it was 5K, probably
5K.
3.1 mile run, and finished. And I finished the biggest smile. And one of my friends, a front runner, came up to me at the end and said, it took you so long. I'd already gone back to the hotel, showered, changed, and ate. So not everybody is as supportive. I will take that as a joke.
You collected more bling.
And I collected more bling.
Oh,
and another beautiful finish line photo.
You do other interesting things, I discovered. Somehow you got involved with other volunteer work with the Jewish organizations.
Yes, I'm heavily involved with Hadassah, which is a Jewish women's organization that supports some wonderful projects in Israel and programs in the United States. Health, education, child welfare, and leaving a legacy of Jewish values for the next generation of Jewish boys and girls. We actually helped with the forming of the State of Israel through the medical system.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually celebrating its 100th birthday this next year in 2012.
Hadassah is?
Hadassah is. So this year my theme as president of the New York region is Countdown to the Centennial.
Okay.
And we're having special programs every month in honor of Hadassah's big occasion. But we were formative in developing the medical system that is now in Israel, and our hospitals in Israel, in Jerusalem, are cutting edge in terms of their research and treatment. It was honored by the Nobel Peace Prize nomination several years back for being a bridge to peace. We treat people regardless of ethnicity, religion, whatever. Our doctors are of all ethnicities and religions, and as are our patients, and they all get excellent medical care.
Excellent. I was honored to attend one of your ceremonies at Hadassah. Because you said it's only women only, but I guess you made the exception on that day.
No, we do have men associates, and we're very honored to have our men friends.
Oh,
can't do without them.
Cool. And I was so moved when they installed you as president.
Thank you.
And the chairperson came down and gave a wonderful speech. And she mentioned that the honors she was looking at were not typical for a typical president of Hadassah.
Right.
So I said, that's my Ruth.
Thank you for attending that too. That was an honor to have you and some of my other running friends. I like meshing my worlds. You know, I do have a lot of different worlds.
Now, do they have an ambulance that goes around as well?
That's yet another Jewish organization that has its own ambulance service within New York, and also what they call the Red Mogen David, which is like the Red Cross in Israel.
Okay, because I've seen so many ambulances, especially at the road runners races. They always have an ambulance in spare just in case, because things do happen.
Absolutely,
well,
another
wonderful.
Good Jewish organization.
That's wonderful. Now, if you said you've done marathons. Have you done any outside of the country, like Israel?
Some races in Israel that I could consider doing, but I really am trying my best, if I can, to hit all 50 states, whether by marathon or half marathon. So either 26.2 miles at a time or 13.1 miles at a time.
Well, anything interesting stories at a particular state that really struck you?
Well, I've done 6 marathons, and I suppose the highlight would be Honolulu.
Oh,
because
wow.
I never thought in my life that I would ever get to Honolulu. Honolulu and Alaska were the 2 states, number 1 and number 2. I'm not sure which was first or second, that I wanted to see since I was maybe in first or second grade or something like that. So I got to run the Honolulu Marathon in December '09 and run up the Diamond Head and the beautiful views. It was just a spectacular marathon. Very difficult, but
and it starts very early, I think like 4 o'clock in the morning or something?
Many marathons do start very early, and I am not a morning person, but somehow, knowing that I have to run, I do go to sleep early, and the adrenaline is up by the time the alarm rings.
Are you running on the sand on that one as well?
No, it's not. It's on roads.
It's on
the roads.
Okay.
I've never run any beach sand races.
I've heard so many wonderful things about it. And I know the Japanese women go there and run it in their kimonos. I don't know if you saw them.
I didn't see anybody in kimonos, but there are many Japanese. I was told that that's like their place, that Honolulu is their vacation home, and
yes.
they spend time there, and I guess it's close to Japan.
I haven't had the pleasure of running there, but I've been there a couple of times, and I've seen them, and they're just wonderful.
Got to do it. You got to do it. Got to run there, Will. Got to run there.
Got to run. And what about Alaska? How was that?
I visited Alaska by cruise, and that was wonderful. And
you haven't run it yet?
I haven't run in Alaska, but I did shop in Alaska and take tours of the glaciers and the beautiful sights to see. It's a wonderful state. America. Most of us go outside of America to do sightseeing, but having done a teen tour when I was maybe 15 and now doing some sightseeing as a grown-up, America is a beautiful country, and I do encourage more people to visit America.
Okay, well, you've done, how many states did you say, 20
So
something?
I've done 6 states via races,
right,
and then marathons, and then half marathons, probably about another 10 or so states.
Well, any particular favorite state besides New York?
Well, New York was definitely a favorite for the marathon, and I did that in 9/11, right after 9/11, 6 weeks in November
of 2001. That must have been a very special one.
6 weeks later, I cried throughout the race. Whenever we passed a policeman, a fire truck, whatever, there was just tears in my eyes. It was very, very meaningful.
Oh, yes.
My slowest race, but I didn't care. It was just so meaningful to be a part of that and to show that we survived and we are winners.
I think for a split second there was a talk about not having the race, but they put that away. But that was before the time I started running, so I missed that stage of it.
Well, we got that theme, United We Run. That was the theme, and it really was meaningful and stuck with me.
Well, speaking of races, I saw you did something recently to help initiate something called the Israel Run or something like that for new runners. Well, tell us about that.
This is a New York story. I had an informational interview with Mary Wittenberg, the president and CEO of the New York Roadrunners Club, just to speak to her about how she broke into the nonprofit world, because she's an attorney. I'm an attorney, and I would like to break into the nonprofit world as a director or a deputy director of an organization. So we were just chatting and had a very wonderful interview. Then maybe a month later, I happened to have another informational interview with the CEO of the Jewish Community Relations Council. And he noted on my resume, I see you're a runner. I'm a runner too. And so I mentioned that there are runs for Japan and for Scotland and for Norway, sponsored by the Roadrunners, or on behalf of these countries that the Roadrunners organizes. Why isn't there an Israel run? And he said, I don't know. How could you make it happen? And I said, well, I just happened to have met Mary Wittenberg. Let's see how we could make this happen. And 2 years later, after a lot of following up with all the various powers that be, and the stars were aligned, and the moons were in the right centigrade, or whatever it's called, we had the Celebrate Israel Run, the first ever. It was run on June 5th, the morning of the Celebrate Israel Run, a parade rather, up Fifth Avenue. So it was 2 celebrations with a street fair, and just so very, very exciting.
Great. And this will now be an annual event, you believe?
I hope so. I hope so.
And you have that follow-through power. It takes 2 years, at least, you said, to follow through an idea to make it happen.
Make it happen.
You've done so many such things before, and now you're doing something, I think, for the first time. You're running for a charity for the ASPCA.
ASPCA,
Tell us about it. How did that come about?
That came about. I went to a rally at one of the best running stores in the city. There are so many good running stores, but one of my favorites is Jackrabbit Sports. The ASPCA representative was there, and they showed a DVD, and they had some cute little puppies there. And by the end of the hour, I didn't think I was going to, but I signed up to become a member of the Team ASPCA and raise funds for the great work that they do in fighting animal cruelty, fighting animal neglect, finding good homes for abandoned dogs and cats, and just, helping make the world a better place, one doggy or pussycat at a time. Great.
We have a little video we're going to show.
Oh, thank you.
And then after the video, we can comment on it.
Team ASPCA is our new endurance training and marathon program. It helps people all across the country run, walk, or cycle towards saving animals' lives. Through Team ASPCA, you actually receive a 16 to 18-week professional marathon, cycle, or swim training. You also receive weekend travel accommodations, round-trip airfare, 2-night hotel stays, and you receive Team ASPCA gear.
Running a marathon, that's so crazy. And it's like you've changed your body, you've changed your life, and it's an experience you're never going to forget.
It's an amazing experience, like being down here, being with all the people who are really truly trying to hit their personal best goal, trying to really run a marathon for the first time. It's really, really inspiring.
This is the best marathon I've ever done. I've done fundraising for other causes. By far, this is the best I've ever done.
I'm running for all of the homeless and abused pets all across America, but especially I'm running for my cat, Squeaky.
This is the anniversary of my own dog's rescue. She was rescued 1 year ago by the ASPCA from a puppy mill.
Every mile was worth it because what I was doing for the ASPCA and the animals of the nation.
This one's for Bailey! Yay!
The ASPCA is the oldest animal welfare organization, and our mission is to provide effective means to prevent animal cruelty across the country. All the money raised through Team ASPCA goes directly to our mission, and throughout the country we're providing mobile spay-neuter, we're microchipping animals, we're taking animals from abused, neglected homes, and we're hoping to have thousands of runners all across the country join Team ASPCA to participate.
I cannot imagine a world without the ASPCA. It is the most wonderful organization.
To be running for yourself, but to be running for so much of a larger cause, it's an amazing feeling.
Team ASPCA is a great program because it really enables people from all different backgrounds, ages, to really come out and participate in Team ASPCA and raise a lot of money to help animals across the country.
It was the best thing, and I'm so glad that I did it.
I didn't start running until I was 40, and anybody can do it.
I would definitely do this again, hands down.
It's great to see all of the Team ASPCA members crossing the finish line and seeing the excitement and the celebration. Through Team ASPCA, you can really do something that you never thought possible, all while raising money for animals.
Initially, our apprehension was the fundraising, and it was the easiest part.
The money that we raised, we're going to be able to save 200 animals.
People gave hundreds and hundreds of dollars, in some cases $1,000.
Anyone can do it. You can join Team ASPCA today, and we'll walk you through every step of the program, and I promise you, you can do it.
The weather, the scenery, the sunrise, it was just the most amazing experience ever.
I finished! Yay!
If we can do it, you can do it too.
Oh, that was a very good video. This is a fundraising effort.
Yes, indeed. Contacting all of my friends, thank goodness for the internet and for Facebook and all of that, and telling just as many friends as I can about my running efforts and asking people to support me and to support the good work of the ASPCA.
This is a half marathon?
This is a half marathon. It's going to be in Los Angeles, and it's called the Rock and Roll half marathon. It's sponsored by the organization that puts on races throughout the country. And at each mile, there's a different rock and roll band. Most ones never heard of, maybe little bar bands or whatever. But it feels so good to be running, and you hear in the distance this great music, and you pass the bands, and many times there are cheerleaders from local high schools. And it really keeps you going, keeps the energy up, because it does get tiring, especially in the heat, or if it's raining or whatever, you need to be running.
That's right. You got to run regardless.
You got to run regardless.
And it's good. Sometimes they say the half marathon is twice as much fun as a marathon because of the great support that they get. How did you get involved with the Galloway running group?
Well, that was back in 1999 when I read an advertisement about a marathon, the Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, that one could do a marathon, or they called the AIDS Marathon. And you could run it on behalf of the Gay Men's Health Crisis, raising funds for the Gay Men's Health Crisis, an organization that's raising awareness and funds for fighting AIDS. And hopefully that disease will be something that our children won't even ever have to deal with. And so I got very excited because they were going to have a run-walk group so that this could be the marathon that I can actually run because of this walking element. And I went to the first orientation, and they canceled the race. They canceled the AIDS Marathon fundraising portion of it because they didn't have enough people wanting to participate. And I went home crying.
Oh.
And about a week later, I got a letter from Jeff Galloway saying, if you would still like to run the Marine Corps Marathon, join my running group, and it meets on the weekends, and you have a group that's right for you, et cetera, et cetera. And he was having an orientation maybe the following week or a couple of weeks later, and I went and asked so many questions and said, okay, this will be it. I will get to fulfill my dream and run a marathon.
Was Marine Corps your first?
Marine Corps was my first in 1999.
Through Jeff Galloway.
Through Jeff Galloway. He signed my book, You Can Do It. Jeff Galloway. And sometimes when I wasn't sure of myself, I would open his book called Marathon and read his inscription, You Can Do It. And that kept me going, because if Jeff said I could do it, I can do it. And sometimes that was just the engine that I needed. That was the mantra that I said many times during that race when I said, I don't think I can do it. You can do it.
Excellent.
And I did it.
Excellent.
And then I did it 5 more times.
That's true. Once you do your first, you want to continue.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for dropping by. It was a pleasure talking to you, and the wonderful philosophy. You can do it.
You can do it.
Thank you so much, Ruth.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate it. This was great.